What's up, everybody? It's the third podcast coming to you live from beautiful Las Vegas at the Consumer Electronics Show. And we have a special treat tonight. I'm bringing you a friend, a client, my hotel for CES, Amer Tadayon, the CEO of Lucihub, who I've been working with. A lot of you guys see this video made by Lucihub on pretty much every video I put out. That's how important they
That's
are to my
right.
workflow and how I use the technology. So, Amer, thanks so much for coming on your show, and thanks for all your hospitality, man.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for coming and hanging out in the studio.
Yeah, no, this is a beautiful setup. You're a amazing hardware geek, a great musician, and just all things technical and video.
I owe you $5.
So, I figured I would set the stage and just tell you guys a little bit about how I use Lucihub. So, I met Amer a while back and learned about how his company was really disrupting the traditional post-production process. And my biggest problem when I first launched the podcast back in 2017 is that I am not a video engineer. I am not a sound guy. I'm a sales guy. And I was taking a Yeti microphone and a camera to people's offices in uncontrolled sound conditions, plopping it on their desk and hitting the button on Adobe Audition and recording shows static. The problem was, is I would go home and because I'm a perfectionist, I'd put 10 hours of editing in.
Yep.
And I'm not a classically trained editor. I don't know how to use these tools. And the whole purpose of the podcast, which was meet really interesting people and get a video up so they could get promotion on my LinkedIn page, actually became a chore versus a value add to them, because it was taking me too long to finish the videos, and I had such a massive backlog because I'm not an editor that it actually ended up defeating the purpose of what I was trying to accomplish.
So you're
So
not alone. You know how many people have videos on their phone that'll never go anywhere?
I know, right? I mean, we shoot all this video content. Cameras are ubiquitously beautiful HD cameras now, and a lot of that stuff will never see the light of day because people just don't have the time for post. So I met you. One of the ways that I solve for the editing issue for the podcast is we're going live, right? We're live right now. But the other great part in working with you with Lucihub is that when I'm at an event like CES, I had a media badge. I'm getting hit up by PR people to come by their booths and do interviews. I just grab a Rode mic and my phone. I shoot B-roll. I use Lucihub's AI features to actually tell me which B-roll shots. They actually say, go to this part of the convention center, shot list. And then as I'm finishing the videos, I just hit the upload button, and then the videos go to the cloud, and then your team is working on them. And sometimes I have videos in my inbox when I get home that night.
Well, it's if you pay us enough, you'll get them in 2 hours.
That's the internal. I get the internal priority list, but I'm not complaining.
That's right. The whole story behind this company was actually it came from a conversation with an agency executive who said, "We spend thousands of dollars on video content. By the time we get it back, it's irrelevant." And if you look at the market today, I mean, video is everywhere. It's literally the predominant tool for communication, everything else. But the production process for it is mostly the same. It hasn't changed. At least the professional piece of it. There are a million DIY toys you can use, and you can use them. Anybody can use them. The problem that we found in the professional world is you don't have the time. And so what we set out to do is kind of democratize professional video production. It's how do you do professional video production at speed and scale and don't compromise quality? And that's really the goal of Lucihub. And we set out to do it well before OpenAI was even available. We were using computer vision and ML to do it. And then OpenAI became available. We're Microsoft Founders Hub members. So we had access to all the tools, and we started building even more AI. And this year we'll lean into even more of it. But the big thing is we don't compromise the human piece of this thing.
Yeah.
And there's always a human editor at the end of the deliverable, which is what makes it a quality product. It's, you've used the AI tools. We've all used the AI tools. Today, they fall really, really short. And today, we still have problems to solve, and that's what we're addressing.
Yeah, well, look, that's what everybody's saying about all AI is never trust ChatGPT. These things are great for brainstorms. They're great for outlines. They're great for initial inputs, but a human has to take it the last mile.
Well, and so add a layer to that, which is art, and art is
Mm,
subjective, so it's always going to require some form of human touch.
yeah, totally. So we've set the stage. Let's dive back and learn a little bit about you and your entrepreneurial
Yeah,
journey.
my
So,
my random journey.
yeah, well, tell us first a little bit about a little bit about your background. You know, where'd you grow up?
So
And
I came here from Iran. I grew up in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, and pretty much I've been on the West Coast most of my life. I
nice.
had my path was really different because I thought I was going to be a musician and go to Juilliard when I was in high school, and then the movie Top Gun came out, and like, well, I want to be a fighter pilot. I
Wow.
was in the Civil Air Patrol, which is a volunteer organization. I would get airsick on the plane, so I used to
Wow.
carry a little Ziploc bag, and I somehow ended up in engineering and computer science as a failed engineer. Was pretty good at the computer science, but I was better at human factors, and so I did all of that to end up in sales.
Nice.
And so I did most of my career in sales, and then I switched to products, and then I switched to becoming a filmmaker. I decided I was going to go just make a left turn and go be a filmmaker.
I love it. Well, I'm a film school guy that thought he was going to be a screenwriter that ended up in sales. So we
Yeah.
all have interesting paths to the profession.
And what's really interesting about Lucihub is it's connecting the dots of an entire career.
Wow.
So it's software, it's video production services, and it's consulting services all packaged in one business.
I love it. So tell me about the moment where you came up with this idea. You know, I love the entrepreneur's journey of, you know, generally you're hit struck by lightning or you hear about something or you experience a problem. Generally, I find most entrepreneurs experience a problem that is so annoying to them that they have to go out and fix it in the world.
So in my case, it was annoying to an agency, a very large
Mm.
agency. And true story, that happened on Friday, May 6th. On Monday, May 9th, I started Lucihub. And
Wow,
I
wow.
spent, I've got this whole ADHD, which I always say it's like the superpower of the generalist because you get hyper focused.
Mhm.
I spent a good 4 days hyper focused on what was the problem. And I actually still have some of my rough sketches on how I could solve this problem. And I said, how do I solve this problem? Tech was one piece of it.
Mhm.
People was another piece of it. But the piece that really helps, well, they all need it. The third piece was time zones.
Wow, yeah,
So
because, video production, I mean, I've worked on big productions like Oprah Winfrey's Big Give, where we shot 500 hours of footage for every 1 minute that you saw on
yeah.
television. We had entire rooms full of college kids transcribing videotape. My job was to put together a 2-hour string out from that 500 hours of footage that would then become a 1 minute on an editor's desk in an Avid Bay. So it was a 24-hour
So
operation in the stateside.
we
Yeah.
follow the sun, and we run a 24-hour business globally. And
Wow.
what's really interesting about this particular startup, it was global from day one.
Mm,
Ali and I were employee number 1 and 2, and my dining table was actually our R&D center for
let's
3
go.
months.
Wow.
And so
And
the idea
how
came
did
up.
you and Allie meet?
Johnny is Ali's
We're
husband.
talking about some off-camera people who are producing the
That's
show
right.
today,
That's right.
so but maybe they'll
He was
hop
my
on and say
recording
hi.
engineer, so I'll record songs in his studio.
Nice.
And then on my birthday during COVID, we did a live stream concert in the studio, and Ali was the videographer. So it was me, Ali, and this guy Mark, and literally my dining table was this R&D lab. And so from May to June, we were tinkering with a bunch of stuff. My band was playing at Container Park in Vegas, and I invited 2 agency execs, and I said, "You're gonna have a music video in your hands before the band gets off stage." And that was the first big challenge we did.
That's amazing. So that was your proof of concept to show
That was our
them.
first proof of
Yeah.
concept. And by the way, we threw away 3 MVPs and restarted before this platform ever became what it is.
Wow.
We tried 3 different things. They just didn't work and they didn't resonate. And one of them was,
What was, some of the friction points that had to send you back to the drawing board?
so originally it was best of breed. We were gonna go find the best companies that did the things we needed and try to mash them up together.
Mhm.
The challenge we ran into is the exact challenge we ran into before we set up the show, which is integration. We
Mm.
had a lot of breakpoints and it just wasn't working. And so, we said, well, this is a good idea, but holy crap, this is a lot of work, and there's a lot of risk to it because you drop files, you drop signal. You drop a lot of things regularly, and so that didn't work very well. And I remember looking at Mark and saying, "Mark, we can just build this and own the entire stack and make sure everything works from, all the way from idea to or concept to final. We can own the whole thing, and that way nothing's going to break. And if it breaks, we can control it." So that was one of the big aha moments during all of that. The other was we were filming about what was June, July. It was about 4 months later. We were filming a wedding in San Antonio, and Ali was there. It was really funny. We said, and the bride and groom to this day don't know we filmed this on phones, but we said, "Hey, let's film this entire wedding on phones."
And
And
this was
let's
the one where you guys were actually pointing cameras that were HDMIs that were off, and then actually filming on
filming on the
phones. But you
phones.
had to have the fake prop cameras just so they didn't think that it was,
That's right.
a
That's right.
lower key
And
production.
the photographer came up to us and said, "I love your use of mixed media." And Allie's camera wasn't even on. She was just pretending to film. And about 20 minutes into the whole thing, nobody cared. She put the camera down. We were all on phones.
Wow.
And we learned so many lessons that night. So I'll give you an example. The iPhone, where is the iPhone here? Right? You've got 3 lenses on it.
Yep.
Ali didn't have to stop to swap lenses. We didn't have to swap batteries out. We
Yep.
caught a lot more content. We didn't miss anything. We had these on gimbals, and at one point, one of the guys, Ethan, extended the boom on the gimbal, put his hand up, got this beautiful shot that would have been a drone or a dolly shot that we did with a handheld gimbal.
Wow.
The 2 best shots of the night, you would have never caught with a DSLR. One of them was this really tiny window, and Mark, the bride and groom were on the other side. Mark literally just put his hand right through that window and got a beautiful shot.
Wow.
And then the other one was they threw the mail up, and Ethan just put the phone down like this and just got this really great shot. So we learned a ton of lessons, and that was the point where we threw that MVP out and we decided to take the direction that Lucihub is today.
Mm-hmm.
And we leaned into phones, and we built this platform originally for phones, and now it's kind of mixed use because we have clients in the enterprise that still want to use some DSLR. But I'd say 95% of our customers never use a digital camera. They all
Yeah,
film on
I mean,
phones.
I shoot mine on a DLSR in my studio just because I have the studio and it's sitting
Yeah.
on a tripod. But
Well,
really
here
for
too,
no
right?
other
We've got a
reason.
bunch
Yeah,
of Black Magics here,
yeah, but it's this is a controlled environment
Yeah.
where you can have them on stands and you don't have to worry about it. But when you're out in the wild, man, I mean, the biggest frustration these days is, carrying a kid around. My good friend Jason, who works at Adobe, he's always bringing his drone and camera and all this stuff with him when we travel internationally. And when we went to IBC, it got stolen, the whole thing.
Oof, that hurts.
And it was stolen out of the Adobe private, storeroom. So there must have been an IBC theft gang going around to booths in Adobe. But I mean, that's another thing is, all this equipment is heavy, cumbersome, and expensive.
We have videographers who actually tell us they prefer filming on the phone
Mm-hmm.
because it takes away all of that,
Yeah.
and they can focus on telling the story. They don't need to worry about focus. They don't need to worry about lens changes. They don't need to worry about any of that. They just focus on telling a visual story. And our customers, we're primarily now, we started in consumer and weddings, but we're actually primarily a corporate business.
Yeah, you're an
solution.
enterprise.
We're an
video,
enterprise.
yeah.
We're in the business of corporate video, and our customers, might not have the skill sets. B, they never have the budgets. You know how it is in the enterprise. And comms, HR, those are 2 of the biggest places we play today.
Yep.
And those guys, and you said it, we have a shot list generator, we have a voiceover generator, we have a script generator, all AI powered, right? And then we have the professional team that takes it to the finish line for you. So they don't have to be professional videographers necessarily. They know their story better than a production company would.
Mm-hmm.
So they get to tell their brand story using the device they carry in their pocket every day.
So great.
And they get some great quality. And we have some really good stories. One of our clients here just signed 3 months ago. They've done 40 projects in 3 months with us.
Wow, that's a
And
lot. That's
I
a
don't
lot
know if
of
they've ever done
output.
40 projects, but 40. And then we had another HR department deliver 65 projects globally for a fraction of what it would have cost. And we hear the same message over and over again. We wouldn't be able to output this level of content if we didn't have you, because this budgets, we wouldn't have the budgets for traditional production.
Totally. One of my favorite stories of using the platform recently is I I went to the Arrival conference, which was a destination conference in San Diego for attractions, tours, and travel operators, basically. And I got a decent LinkedIn following, 31,000. The podcast is more of a general marketing audience, and this was a travel audience. So I applied as media, and they're like, "Well, you're not really a travel podcast, so you got to pay full boat if you want to come." I was like, "All right, fine, I'll come," because I needed to be there. So I paid full boat. I went. I was running around. I shot 15 interviews in 4 days with various executives around the show. And the other thing that was so awesome was the speed in which I was able to get the content up. I had all my interviews posted before the conference even launched one
One
video.
video. Did they say anything?
Oh yeah, they were not really pissed, but like taken off guard because they like weren't expecting it. They had influencers there and stuff, but they just weren't expecting the speed element. And what ended up happening is, the CEOs reached out to me. They didn't know who I was when I showed up, but both the CEOs of the conference reached out to me. Their editor in chief, their camera people, everybody reached
awesome.
out to me, and they said, "Hey, we really loved what you did. Can we build you like a proper setup at the Edinburgh version, and would you be our official media partner?"
That is
Because
awesome.
I was so much faster than their big crew running around with a camera with just a phone and Lucihub. I beat them to their own scoop essentially. So that's kind of I mean, I agree with you. Like, I think we live in a society now where the expectations are immediate. If you don't release content that is relevant, well, if you look at the average social media trend, right? Like something that's trending on TikTok, a sound, a song, a creator, a hashtag. If you identify a trend and you haven't finished a video and put it up on your socials within 5 days or less, you might as well not even bother.
Yeah. No, it's so what's interesting about that is our standard SLA is 72-hour turns.
Wow. Yeah.
And we have clients that'll pay a premium for 24, and then we have some that'll pay for 2-hour turns.
Wow.
Typically in conferences or their keynote speakers, and they'll want content up, or they're
Yep.
doing a product announcement and they want to be up before the press. But if you look at the video, the industry in general, the market, it's a huge market. It's about a $230 billion market globally.
Wow.
You can't name one player. You can't name one
No.
big player.
Yeah, we were just thinking
It's
about that the other night, and it's like trailer park maybe, but they're a post house for
they're all post
trailers.
houses
Yeah,
they're all
they're for movie
in
trailers. I mean, they do other
but
stuff
who's
now, but
doing that for corporate
right.
video, right?
Yeah.
Nobody. They're doing it. They're
It's
all
a bunch of mom and pop
yeah.
shops or production companies that are being outsourced by advertising and
And
marketing
it's one of the
agencies.
most fragmented service industries universally. And you'll
Mhm.
talk to large companies that say, well, we've got, 20 of you doing this.
Mhm.
Nobody's really thought about how do we standardize this so that our customers are getting quality and they're getting it consistently, right? Consistent delivery is key. And you can't do that unless you actually build process, you build tech, and you actually take it seriously. And the challenge is uh, great filmmakers are just that. They're great filmmakers, and they're not looking at building process. And I think that's where me spending the last 20 some odd years in tech and in services really pays off, because I'm constantly looking at how do you optimize, how do you optimize, how do you
Yeah.
optimize.
Artist and operator, business operator rarely go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Talk about the disruptive nature of what you guys are trying to do. The greatest startups are disrupting, traditional models. They're eating things with software and AI.
yeah.
It was said that software will eat the world. Now it's AI will eat the world. I working with you on the biz dev side, not just on the product evangelism side, was both, surprised but also shocked of some of the conversations that I had with people who I know in the industry, colleagues. This reminded me a lot of like when I used to work. Adobe was my biggest client at my last agency, and at the Adobe conference every year, they have this really cool keynote called Sneaks. And what this is when the nerds come out of the basement and they showcase to the entire Adobe user audience, 22,000 people that have showed up for Adobe Max, and they say, "Here's what's in the development pipeline. Here's what's in the R&D pipeline that's you're going to see in 1, 3, and 5 years out." And generally, they show you some crazy thing where, you used to have a whole team of people to take a tree or a telephone pole out of a shot they circle it, hit a button, it disappears, and it's out of the shot.
Yeah.
And half the room is like, wow, this is the coolest thing. This is going to save me time. And there's the other half of the room that says, oh shit, this is going to cost me my job.
Yeah.
I felt like I ran into a lot of those conversations when I talked to production companies and agencies more than other marketers are always looking for ways to innovate, but service providers are trying to protect turf, territory, and budget. I've never had people who were, angry that I was trying to pitch them before. Like they're annoyed because I'm a sales guy, but I've never had people so angry and fearful.
And they were angry this time, right?
Oh yeah, they
Yeah,
were like,
yeah,
"How dare you even talk to me about
yeah,
replacing my assistant editors, with a
yeah.
tool like this?" Like there was some outright hostility at people that I reached out to about what we were trying to do.
So here's the good and bad of that.
Uh-huh.
That's what tells you we have a disruptive play, right? The bad is how do you get them to change their mindset?
Yeah.
Look, we work with a handful of studios now that see us as a way to basically augment what they're doing. And I'm a car guy, so I was telling one dealer or one company, he said, "Look, go build your Porsches. We go build your 911s, right?
Yeah.
We'll go build the Macans for you." And my point to that is most of these companies have so much work, they're gonna have to put it somewhere. You can go you can go get a staff of contractors, but the continuity isn't there, the
Mhm.
workflow isn't there, the process isn't there. And what we tell them is, "Hey, we're just staff augmentation for you, right? We're just an augmentation of your team, an extension of your team." But there are a lot of them who say, to your point, it's job justification in some cases. Some of these guys will go and say, "Well, they're doing what we do in 2 days or 3 days and in 2 hours." Instead of saying, "Wow, we can get greater output," or on the agency side, "Wow, we can make more money
Yeah.
and we get more profitability and we don't have to charge 50,000."
Totally. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
look, a lot of these agencies are losing their scopes and what you call like the below the line production work because, if an agency walks into a client and says, I'm going to charge you $20,000 for a TikTok video, they're going to say, over my dead body,
Well,
I
no,
can, I
it's
can get
happening.
I can get an influencer to create a TikTok video for me for $50. It might not look as good. It might not be as professional, but it'll be usable.
Well, and that's what's happening. There are agencies that can lean into us and actually keep those clients, and they might get that 20,000, but they might get over a handful of projects, or they're just gonna lose it outright.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
Better
Um,
to go with the market where prices are headed and keep the margin than lose the business entirely.
Yeah, and a lot of them are losing the business entirely, and it's a bummer because we have a white label service for agencies, and usually the top people want it, and then the guys who are actually in the trenches kick us out of it. So,
Yeah.
but that's to me, that's how I know we have a disruptive play.
Yeah.
And what I tell the sales team is, look, you're going to know in the first 15 minutes if you have a customer or not, because the people who get it, like you got it,
Oh yeah.
the people who
Mhm.
get it. We had one client who stopped me in the middle of a demo. She said, "Okay, we're doing this global event right now. You mean to tell me everybody can upload content tomorrow and you'll have a video for us the next day?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Well, I wish I knew. We would have used you." And I said, "No, Wendy, we could do this now." We onboarded her in 15 minutes. That evening, all the content from around the world started coming in. And the next day they had a video, and now they're one of our biggest clients.
Crazy.
So,
So I want to talk a little bit about I want to revisit the speed element.
yeah.
You talking about, how theoretically clients can pay a premium and have damn near real time videos.
Yeah.
You've told me I haven't ever seen it in action because I haven't, gone to an event with you, but you talk about this concept of a hat trick
Yeah, the
where,
party trick.
yeah, like
Yeah.
literally you can deliver a video like within moments
Yeah.
after the actual thing happens, like a keynote address.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how you do that and how you pull that off?
Yeah, that one's really processed more than anything. So the tool we've built is it's pretty awesome in its own right. Just as a cloud system, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It uploads footage incredibly quickly,
Hmm.
and it
Even with you don't even have to be on Wi-Fi sometimes. You can just
no,
upload on the
yeah.
cell bandwidth.
And honestly, that's where your bottleneck is right, is your data.
Yep.
But
It's funny how being a creator is mostly about managing upload speed and battery life.
right. Well, and with this, you're pretty safe.
It does pretty well.
Grab a DSLR and you better have a battery pack,
Oh
right?
yeah, big time.
So it's a function of process. When that file hits our cloud, it hits the editor's desktop almost immediately. And so when we do these real-time productions, and we do a handful of them every year, um, as footage is coming in, it's being assembled. And so the way the party trick works is I'll usually be at a conference. We'll grab a bunch of B-roll of the conference, and then I'll get up and I'll start speaking. And Ali or somebody who's with me, I'll grab some content of me speaking, and I'll open up with saying, thank you for inviting me here today. And the opening is thank you.
Yeah.
And so I'll give the presentation, they'll capture some of that, and then they'll start bouncing it out while I'm doing the presentation, and they'll drop it in a file for me. And I'll say, I have one more video to show you, and that's the video of today's presentation and today's event.
Oh my
And we'll run a
gosh.
highlight, and it ends with me saying thank you, because that's what I say when I open the
Do
presentation.
people
So
just freak out when you do
yeah,
that?
they do. They do. We did a huge event here when we first launched this platform, and we did exactly that. We did the party trick, and you should have heard the gasp in the audience.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it shows the power of real-time marketing, going back to the wedding example, I feel like everybody in marketing now is always looking for, what's the Instagram moment, for my business. And a friend of mine who's, they run a pretty successful wedding videography company. They put out like 400 weddings a year between their DC office, their Marin office, and their San Diego office. And, their version of that is they would shoot the reception and then or they would shoot the wedding ceremony and then have a cut video of the ceremony at the reception playing in the lobby with a 8 by 10 photo of the bride,
So that's where
and
we
it's like
started.
speed, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, can you believe this production company or this wedding videographers? They're so good that they delivered these things and they put them in here. And it was the Instagram moment. Like people were so thrilled by this that they were taking out their cameras and doing like, reels of like, oh, look, this wedding company's awesome. They've already delivered the video. It's like, it's the reception and we
So
already have a
that's where we
video.
started. We started in weddings, and we would turn around the wedding video 2 hours into the reception.
Yeah, right.
And I have a really funny story, because we were doing another one of our pilots, and Ali and the team were at Dragon Ridge Country. Is it Dragon Ridge, Ali? Dragon Ridge Country Club, filming the wedding. But I had a gig that night across
Mm.
town. So I had the party we'd signed up, months earlier. So I had my laptop next to my drum set, and it's a Zoom of the editor who's thousands of miles away editing the wedding, and I'm watching it real time. And so
Wow.
I'm playing my gig, and and I'm watching the wedding. I'm trying to see how it's going, and
Talk about multitasking.
we go to break, and this lady comes, she goes, "What is this?" I said, "Oh, that's my company, and we're cutting a wedding across town." And she goes, "You're cutting a wedding?" She goes, "Well, when did the wedding happen?" I said, "No, it's happening right now. We're editing it." And she said, "When did they get this video?" I said, "As soon as the reception starts." And she
Isn't
goes,
that great?
"You know how long I waited for my wedding video?"
I know.
And so
Yeah.
that's where we started. But
Speed.
what
Yeah.
happened was we did CES, I guess almost 3 years ago now, where we did 2 corporate projects, and the revenue from those 2 corporate projects would have been the equivalent of 20 weddings.
Sure. Yeah. Makes
And
sense.
one of the things we realized is that enterprises actually have a bigger need for us than anybody.
Yeah.
They're cash strapped, they're resource constrained, and they have a demand for video that they just can't reach. And it's not just about social, it's learning development, it's
Mhm.
internal comms. We have the number one volume of video that came out for us in 2024 was from HR departments. They're
Wow.
incredibly low budgets, and there's a significant demand on them for recruiting videos, employee stories, onboarding, a ton of things that they don't get to do because the budgets aren't just there for them.
Mhm.
And in
They've
in
got to be
almost
scrappy.
in
Yeah.
almost every case, they can't afford traditional production. And even the really large companies that have internal production teams, well, those go to the office of the CXOs, or they go to
Mm.
marketing. They don't go to comms, they don't go to HR, they don't go to L&D. And so we found that there's actually a bigger need for us in the enterprise than there was even with weddings.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
so that's what we do today.
Yeah. Talk about that because, you know, whenever I think about go to market, the blessing and the curse of video right now is that everybody needs it, everybody wants it, and it's becoming more and more ubiquitous. But the challenge with that for go to market is where to start when the entire world is your oyster, right?
Yeah.
When everybody needs you from weddings to you and I had dinner with a restaurant owner that's
Said,
like
he
last
wanted it,
night, and
yeah.
he's like, I need 15 videos a month. I'm like, you're a restaurant? You're going to do 15 videos a month? Holy crap.
Yeah.
So, in a world where you could literally start at any beachhead you want, how do you like how do you let the market kind of show you where to start, and how do you penetrate deep in a vertical, and then how do you start thinking about where to go next?
Yeah, so candidly, we had to find it.
Mm,
They didn't tell us. In fact, it took us almost an entire year of trying to find our stride and trying to find kind of customer fit. And so, we started in consumer and weddings. The problem is consumers aren't going to pay us what we need to make this business work. It's an expensive business. It's
yeah,
not,
when they got cap cut,
yeah.
they're like, okay, I'm
They,
good.
they don't need us. But when an L&D team has to deliver 300 videos in a year, and there's only two guys, and they really need support, that's where we can really play a part. And I think part of why a lot of them are going with us now isn't look, there's a million companies that can deliver quality, but can they do it consistently and on time? And that's what we're finding.
And at the price point that
And at the
justifies the
yeah,
volume now.
at the volume, and literally every single customer said these videos that we were doing, we would have never done them. It's not a fact that we would have gone to another vendor. We just would have never done these videos. So that's
This
pretty
is
interesting.
incremental.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's
yeah.
cool.
But then you talk about the industry and verticals and stuff, and then we looked at, well, which industries will really lean into uh, to the what we're doing, and it's the ones that are forward thinking. Well, tech companies are very forward thinking. So if you look at our rosters, most of them are tech. Microsoft is
Mm,
tech, Sumo Logic is tech. So that's kind of the vertical we're looking at right now. But I think as a whole, we decided, there's a million places we can go. We're really in the business of corporate videos.
yeah, that's great. Obviously, when I started working with you guys, I started to think about the creator economy, right? We've
Yeah,
talked a lot
yeah,
about it. And I still think that there's a beachhead there because we've already proven successfully, with big YouTubers with many millions of subscribers that we can turn videos around at the same price point or better than their
yeah,
internal editing teams. You can do it faster for sure. They're definitely, not used to getting videos back as fast as you've been able to deliver them in the past. But creators are also people think creators are rich. There's a very small percentage of them that are,
yeah.
and they also like free stuff because they feel like they're entitled to free stuff. I don't know. What do you think about the creator economy?
I think we'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
I think today the two beachheads for us are corporate video and, believe it or not, nonprofits who also don't have
Ooh,
much money,
that's a smart one.
but they're getting so much value out of what we're providing that they're jumping on very, very quickly. And that's been really fun to see. It's been great to see nonprofits really embrace this. I think if you look at the customer set, we're getting as many nonprofits as we are getting direct
Interesting.
clients.
Well,
Yeah.
nonprofit, that's great because you're, having an impact on the mission too, of course, and you can
Yeah.
feel good about that, and your team can feel good about that every day. But like you said, nonprofits for fundraising and stuff like that, like video is a really powerful tool to
Well,
tell the
I have a great
story.
story for you.
Yeah, let's go.
We have we have one nonprofit. You know, they have to spend a lot of money on that fundraising gala,
Hmm.
a lot of media money to get a beautiful video. And we had one nonprofit call us last year and say, you know what, we're gonna take you up on your, because we tell them, look, you can just use this. And so the president of the nonprofit and her assistant went and filmed the video that they used to get everyone to open their pocketbooks. The one that the feel good video,
Yeah, it's what they call the big ask,
the big
right?
ask.
Yeah.
They did it on iPhones, two iPhones and a lavalier kit, and it was the most successful fundraiser they've ever done.
Wow. So that's real ROI.
And so I asked her, I said, "Why do you think that happened?" And she said, there was a level of authenticity to the video we made versus the video that a professional production company is gonna make. It didn't have the glamour and everything that they would put into it. It was authentic,
Yeah.
and
It
we
was their
feel
point of view. And sometimes
yeah,
nowadays, the whole, idea of why TikTok and all these vertical video platforms have become so successful is because they feel less produced and they feel more like real
yeah.
life and more like real people.
And I got a great email from her. She said, I would have never thought we would have been using phones to tell our story, and here we are." It was really
Mm,
cool, and
yeah.
they were really happy about it. And so those stories, get us even more excited about building more and doing more with this platform. We actually have an assistant editor coming out for podcasters and for primarily for interviews. A lot of people do these types of videos now,
Oh my gosh, it's wild.
and they have two options. You can
Yep.
you can sit down and do them yourself,
No thanks.
or you can send them to an editor. The problem is the editor doesn't know the parts you want.
Exactly.
So we created a tool inside Lucihub where you'll actually grab the transcript from us. You'll tell them exactly what to do. It'll stitch it together for you. You'll either download it and use it or send it to the post team, and they'll add the lower thirds, they'll add the bumpers, they'll add everything and give it to you. But now at least you're getting the exact discussion you want or the exact interview you want. You're not going back and forth with a post team trying to figure out what the best part of this
Oh
is.
my gosh, it's been such a game changer for me. I didn't even do cut downs for the longest time, and I knew that I was missing out because I was hearing these stories from podcasters where you would have a show that had maybe 5,000 subscribers on YouTube or maybe 1,000 downloads a month. And they were getting like 50 million views on their cut downs, like
Yeah.
just crazy numbers that were just like mind bending. And, let's face it, we're in a society where, I can only listen to one or two long form podcasts every single night. But if you get on TikTok, you can watch the highlights
Highlights,
for,
yeah.
for 100 podcasts in an hour, right? So you can kind of see the whole, the cut downs and stuff like that. So I started running my old episodes through Lucihub
You doing the cut downs?
and doing the cut downs, and the team's been spitting out, on average 10 cut downs for me per podcast. And I'm finding stuff that I didn't even remember I said. Cause I don't like that's a big problem for me is, I go into the edit and I'm like, I have no idea when and where I said anything interesting unless I watch the whole thing over, and I don't want to watch it for an hour and make notes. And with Lucy Hub, you got a good editor knows the good moments,
Well, you'll know
and the
now.
tech,
So
yeah, the
so
tech will
so
help
this
you get there
quarter, you'll
too.
be able to just tell them what you want,
Wow,
and you'll do
wow.
it within a matter of minutes. And so we were doing this testimonial video, and Mark and I were going through and doing a paper cut, and uh, right after we finished it, our lead AI engineer Marquise goes, "Hey guys, I want to show you how far we've gone on this project," and he'd actually uploaded that same video, and we didn't know it. What Mark and I spent 2 hours cutting, he did in 2 minutes. And
Wow,
it
that's
was we were
crazy.
laughing. We go, "Marquise, you couldn't have given this to us, 3 hours ago, so we could have used it." And it was pretty good. So I'm excited for that piece to come out because I know we'll use it internally. You're in my music studio here.
Yeah, it's
I do a
beautiful.
podcast
Yep,
here, and our team does the cut downs. Once this tool's available, I'll just load it and I'll
yep.
do the cut downs myself and then have them make it look good.
I love that. So let's talk a little bit about product-led marketing because that's another opportunity that
Yeah.
I see for you guys. Uh, it's a great it's great when the tool can do the selling for you, and what I mean by that is, me as a business development person, having been able to change the way I approach customers from, going to a conference like CES. In the past, I would have to pay money for the, Gen Pop badge or, sponsor or something like that. I would have to, walk around to booths as a sales guy and, hey, is there somebody from the marketing team that's willing to talk to me? No, stop by later or whatever. You get a lot of Heismans in that
Yeah.
type of a
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
So now, I show up to CES as accredited media because the tool has allowed me to build an audience to qualify for that. But, I've had here at CES, my inbox is actually ringing with PR people saying, "Hey, can you come by the booth and interview our CMO?"
That's awesome.
Or, "Hey, there's this," people see my post that I'm doing from Lucy Hub in real time because I'm getting these videos while I'm here. I'm posting things in real time. And then people are reaching out and saying, "Hey, I see you're shooting content at, CES day one. Can I book a meeting with you tomorrow and do an interview?" So what I love for that as a biz dev guy is I'm not really doing the selling. The product is selling itself in a way because, the power is in the demonstration and it is video. So how do you guys, I think we've talked about it. I have a phrase called drink your own Kool-Aid. Yours is eat your own dog food.
Yeah.
I don't know
I
which one
I
is
like the
better.
Kool-Aid probably better. I like the Kool-Aid better.
Yeah, I mean, you're a video company and you guys have the ability to crank out video at scale. So how do you guys approach video production from your own marketing
So
funnel?
we in every facet. So we delivered over 100 videos internally for ourselves this year or
Wow.
last year.
Yeah.
Everything from explainer videos to social media content. And thanks to you, Hannah's at CES right now doing exactly what you're doing and
Smart.
getting leads for us.
Yep.
And again, the proof is in the pudding. So when we show our product to almost everybody that we present to, as long as they're qualified, we'll let them play with it and try it, and that's when they get won over.
That's amazing. So any client that onboards and signs up for Lucihub and they're a serious prospect, you'll give them a proof of concept.
We'll give them a
for
proof
free.
of concept, and the cool thing is most of them are like really time sensitive, where they'll say, "Oh wow, well, we wish we could do that next week." No, you can do that next week. You can do it tomorrow. And the one I was telling you about, the global company, that was one of the best case studies ever. We can't use it, but we onboarded them during the demo, and that night the content was coming in.
That's crazy.
So
Guys, go find me a single production company on the planet that's willing to do a trial proof of concept video for you for free. You will not find it. That's
yeah,
nuts.
it's rare. It's rare.
Yeah.
And then you talk about speed and efficiency and everything else. The Mr. Olympia competition was out here a few months ago, and the lead producer there called me and said, "Hey, we've got a problem. We need to figure out how to get 18 videos turned around overnight, and we can't find anybody to do it." And so, Ali, we turned them around at 10 a.m. I think the next day.
Wow.
So we really have a technology and a team that could do really cool things that haven't been done before. And it's not just tech. And I have to reinforce that it's tech, and it's real professionals doing this.
And then, so talk a little bit about that. You've got tech and AI doing a lot of the heavy lifting and the front end, and you've got an overseas component that allows you to have that 24-hour cycle where
Yeah.
you're uploading stuff and then it's on your desk the next morning. And a big part of that is because someone else is starting their workday on the other side of the globe. How do you QA for great editors, when you're talking about a international workforce?
So two things. One is they're all full-time employees. They're our employees.
Wow.
So we
okay,
actually
so these aren't guys on Fiverr.
No. We tried that. It failed miserably. We literally,
Nice.
Dylan, we literally tried that. And Ali and I have horror stories for
I
you.
can only imagine.
And I remember sitting there and saying, there's no way this is gonna work unless they're our employees. They go through our training, and we manage them. So they're all our employees.
That's cool.
And by the way, we don't just edit there, we edit in the US too.
Right.
It really depends on the client's needs.
Yep.
But the reason we set up overseas was primarily because we can follow the sun. And this year we're going to set up in a couple of other countries, but we have editors here in the US as well. And that's part of it is the QC. A lot of the QC gets done here.
Yeah.
So there are
kind of like a traditional post structure where you've got, PAs and runners, and then you've got segment producers, then you've got AEs, and then you've got actual editors, and then the final guy that says, yes, this is the episode, that's the director.
And we do it all globally. And now we have some clients who can't have content overseas. It has to be here. Well, that's fine. The editors are here, right? And that's totally fine. But the other thing is this platform is end to end. So you have views for the customer, but we have views for the project management, and you have views for the editing team. And we've actually built a QC system into the dashboards. And so editors can't release video unless a whole series of checklists have been done. There's a whole bunch of quality control that's gone into the platform to ensure that there's quality.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, so we've been going at it for a few minutes here.
Yeah.
Tell me what you're most excited about the future. This is the second live podcast of the show for 2025. I'm feeling pretty optimistic, coming right out of the gate and coming out here to CES and seeing all the innovation. I don't think I attended a single panel this week that wasn't actually, it's not, they just said the word AI. The whole panel was about AI.
Yeah.
So what are you excited about? What do you think AI and the advancements of what you guys are already doing with Copilot? Where do you think things are headed in the video production space as it pertains to AI this year?
So we're going to lean in. and even harder this year into AI.
Wow. Yeah.
And one of the places it's going to be in B-roll generation using things like Sora,
Ooh,
right?
yeah,
So
that's getting crazy.
you,
I saw a video at Shelly. I can't remember Shelly. I can't remember his last name, but he does a, kind of a little like tech innovation breakfast on Tuesday morning. And he played some videos like do Street Fighter as a vaudeville film, and boom, you had like a movie quality,
yeah.
thing. Like it's getting crazy.
So you've seen the shot list generator.
Yeah.
The next step is, and I think what's really unique about Lucihub is it's hybrid. It's DIY tools plus professional editors, and that doesn't exist anywhere.
Totally.
And it's all built into the platform. It's not like you've got to go find the editors and, hey, you can do all the pre-pro work you want, and then and what's going to happen later this year is you can, especially for podcasters, you could just use the DIY tools if you want,
Yep.
and then hit the easy button if you need an editor. Right?
Sure, that's
So
great.
that's one of the things we're gonna lean into, and then the next step is really, okay, I've done my script, I've done my VO, I've done my shot list. How much of the shot list do I want AI to create for me, and how much of it do I want to go shoot? And then we have this framework called the last pass edit, where it's okay. Well, now push the edit team, let them bring it to the finish line, and that's kind of where the quality comes in.
Yeah, I love that. Another thing I was just thinking about, I've had two conferences where I got official access to the conference's B-roll. So VCon was one of them and CES is the
Yeah.
other. I haven't really even had time to look at the B-roll library because I'm here, not just as a participant shooting content, but doing other things.
Yeah.
But imagine a situation where you do some kind of a deal up front with CES, you start ingesting all of their B-roll from all the stuff that's going on across their entire ecosystem. And then the only thing you have to plug in are the human to human conversations with execs and thought leaders and the people that matter, because then you've got B-roll, coming in from a fire hose into your pipes.
So that's exactly how some enterprises are using us. They're
Wow.
actually pushing all their B-roll in there,
Hmm.
and then they're doing these individual videos with the human piece of it, right? All the practical shooting, and we've got this huge B-roll library we can lean into.
That's wild.
So
All right. Well, I think we're getting down to probably closing this thing up.
yeah.
So why don't you tell the folks at home where they can
Well,
find you if they want to connect and learn more, and but if they want to just hit the website and sign up for a demo, tell people where they can
yeah,
find
you
you
can
and get involved with Lucia.
you can find me on LinkedIn, Amer T on LinkedIn. If you want to see the drums, you can go to at.drums on
Let's
Instagram.
go. Let's go.
And we're lucihub.com, LUCIHUB.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm one of your biggest fans. I love what you
I
guys
appreciate it.
are building. I'm not just here to promote the product. I'm also a customer. I use it in my workflow every single day. So for those of you that are home and you want to step up your game in 2025 and really start building your personal brand, it's a great way to, skip a lot of heartache and get things moving in a fast direction. So that's my plug. Hey, for all of you who are following along at home, if you enjoyed the conversation that I had with Amer tonight and you want to see more interviews in the future with execs like him and hear these types of conversations, go ahead and give us a follow or subscribe wherever you happen to be listening. If you give us an honest review on the podcasting platforms, hopefully a 5-star review, but I'll take an honest review. That's how the show finds a wider audience more organically. And most importantly, if there's somebody out there in executive land, an agency guy whose business is about to get eaten by technology and you want him to survive, or a marketer that needs to do more with less this year, or maybe an influencer who wants to really pour some hot gasoline on their post-production process this year, don't forget to share the show, and we will see you again shortly. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Dylan.
Appreciate it.